Have you ever felt like the odd one out in your own family? Imagine watching your siblings unwrap luxurious gifts while you're handed body wash. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, that's been my reality for years, but not anymore. Here's why everything is about to change. Birthdays in my family were always supposed to feel special, you know? The house would buzz with excitement, streamers, balloons, and the smell of Mom's famous cake wafting through the air. My siblings? Oh, they got the royal treatment. My brother would tear into the wrapping paper to find the latest gaming console, and my sister would squeal with joy at a designer handbag. The whole room would light up with cheers and congratulations. But when it was my turn, I'd sit there with a polite smile, trying to hide the knot forming in my stomach. My gift would be something practical, like body wash or maybe a cheap journal. I mean, seriously, body wash? Who gets that for a birthday? At first, I tried to laugh it off. Maybe they forgot this year, I'd tell myself. Or, it's the thought that counts, right? But as the years went by, it became painfully obvious this wasn't a one-time thing. Every year, it was the same story. My siblings got gifts that screamed, "We care about you," and I got ones that whispered, "You'll survive." It stung. Oh, it really stung. Was I being dramatic? Was I reading too much into it? I started second-guessing myself every time, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling, why wasn't I treated the same way? It wasn't just about the gifts. It was the looks on their faces, the pride, the effort, the love poured into their moments. And then, there was me, clutching my body wash, sitting in the same room, but feeling like I was in a completely different world. I started asking myself, why was I being treated this way? Was there something wrong with me? Was I unworthy of those fancy presents, those moments of excitement and attention? I wasn't asking for much, just anything that would make me feel, well, seen. It wasn't like I was a troublemaker or difficult to deal with. I worked hard, I always helped out, and I was genuinely excited for my siblings when they got their big-ticket gifts, but deep down, a part of me started to wonder, why am I always the afterthought? The more I thought about it, the more resentful I became. I mean, how can you not feel resentful when you're sitting there, watching everyone get lavish gifts, and then you're handed body wash? Year after year? It didn't make sense. It wasn't about materialism, it was about feeling like I mattered, like I was worthy of the same thoughtfulness. And then something huge happened. I had a realization, maybe it wasn't me, maybe it was them. Maybe it wasn't about what I deserved, but about how they viewed me. That stung too, you know? Because deep down, I felt like my family's expectations of me were small. They never really saw me as someone who needed or deserved more. Maybe that's why the gifts were always so basic, because I was the one who could just get by. It wasn't just about material gifts anymore. No, it was about being overlooked. It was about all the times I tried to speak up or show my emotions, but was dismissed with a quick, "Oh, come on, it's just a birthday." But guess what? A birthday means something. It's not just another day, it's your day. And when everyone else's day gets celebrated in such big, meaningful ways and yours gets forgotten, it takes a toll. It made me start to feel like I was invisible. And here's where the real turning point happened. I was done. I was done feeling like the odd one out. Done with the disappointment that followed every birthday. Done with the quiet acceptance of whatever was handed to me. That was it. I was finally going to take control of my life, my happiness, and stop waiting for someone to see me. I started planning my own future, and let me tell you, it felt amazing. It wasn't just the gifts anymore, it was everything. I started to realize how much I'd been letting this pattern define my life. My birthday wasn't the only time I was overlooked. It was every time I tried to put myself first, to take up space, to make my needs known. How many times had I been told, "You're being dramatic or it's not that big of a deal"? You know what? It was a big deal. It was my life, my time, my everything. And no one, absolutely no one, was going to make me feel like I was unimportant any longer. It hit me one day, out of nowhere, that I was done playing this role. I wasn't just some side character in my family's narrative. No more. I deserved to be treated with respect and care just like everyone else. The body wash? That was the last straw. And I know it sounds trivial to some, but it wasn't about the gift, it was about the message that came with it. You're not worth the effort. That's what it said, loud and clear, even if no one ever intended it that way. So, I made a decision. I wasn't going to wait for them to recognize my worth anymore. I wasn't going to sit around and hope that things would change. Why? Because nothing changes unless you make it change. It was time to move out. Yes, I said it, I was going to leave, to carve out my own path, to find a place where I could thrive and, most importantly, feel seen. I won't lie, the decision wasn't easy. It wasn't just about leaving the house, it was about leaving behind all those years of feeling like I was second-rate, like I didn't matter. It was terrifying to think about being on my own, but at the same time, it was liberating. The weight that had been sitting on my chest for so long finally started to lift, and for the first time in forever, I felt like I was finally in control of my own destiny. I remember standing in my room, looking around at all the memories that had built up in that place. It was the house I grew up in, the place that had once been full of joy and laughter. Now, it felt like a prison. I realized then that moving out wasn't just about leaving a physical space, it was about breaking free from all the emotional baggage I'd been carrying. The labels, the expectations, the constant feeling of being the forgotten one, it was all going with me. And trust me, it felt like I was taking a deep breath after holding it in for too long. In that moment, I promised myself something. I was going to stop waiting for anyone to give me the validation I deserved. I wasn't going to look for approval anymore. I was going to find my own way. It was my time. And I couldn't be more ready. Finally, the big day arrived. The day I was packing my bags, leaving behind the disappointment, and stepping into something entirely new, freedom. And let me tell you, walking out of that door was like shedding an entire lifetime of resentment and regret. It wasn't just about the physical act of moving out, it was a declaration. It was me saying, I am worth more than this. I am deserving of better. I will no longer let anyone make me feel invisible. But don't get me wrong, it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. I wasn't skipping out of there, grinning from ear to ear, completely carefree. No, there were moments of doubt. Moments when I stood in the doorway and thought, what the heck am I doing? Is this really the right move? There were definitely times when I questioned whether I was making a huge mistake. The guilt started creeping in, whispering things like, what if they need you? What if you're abandoning them? But every time that voice popped up, I squashed it with a single thought, I deserve my own life. I could hear it now, the echoes of all those times I held myself back, just to keep the peace. The times I kept my mouth shut so I wouldn't rock the boat. The times I accepted the body wash instead of speaking up. But that day, as I stood with my bags in hand, I realized that I didn't owe anyone an explanation for taking care of myself. It was time to stop settling for less just because it was familiar. And let me tell you, as soon as I stepped into that new space, the one that was mine, no one else's, I felt an incredible weight lift from my shoulders. It was like breathing in fresh air after being trapped in a stuffy room for years. My own place, my own space, my own rules. Suddenly, I was in control of everything, no more feeling like I was just another face in the crowd. But here's the thing, while the move felt amazing, the journey wasn't easy. I still had to wrestle with old habits, old feelings of inadequacy that had been ingrained in me for so long. I had to fight that voice in my head that kept telling me, you're not enough. You're not doing enough. But here's what I realized, I didn't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. I didn't need to earn my worth. I was already worthy, already deserving of everything I wanted and more. So, while I was building this new life for myself, there was a part of me that was learning to let go of the guilt, learning to embrace my new independence, and learning to love the person I was becoming. And oh my gosh, was that an emotional ride! The ups, the downs, the moments where I felt unstoppable, and the moments where I thought I couldn't go on. But you know what? I kept pushing forward, because I knew I was doing the right thing. This was my time now. Finally! I wasn't living in the shadow of anyone else's expectations or limitations. I wasn't a side note in anyone's story. I was the protagonist in my own narrative. And that felt like victory. It wasn't just about moving out, though. It was about reclaiming myself, reclaiming my space, my voice, my choices. I was no longer the person who accepted the leftovers. I was the one choosing the main course. And that, my friends, is what real empowerment looks like. It's not just about changing your physical surroundings, it's about changing your mindset, your worth, and your belief in you. So yes, I moved out. But what I really did was step into the person I was always meant to be. And trust me, that's a journey worth taking. You know what's crazy? I never expected that my moving out would lead to a complete transformation of how I viewed myself. I thought I was just leaving the house behind, but really, I was leaving behind the person I thought I was supposed to be. The person who accepted the crumbs, who was always second-guessing themselves, who was constantly wondering if they were good enough. But guess what? When you make that bold decision to change your life, when you take that leap of faith and stand up for yourself, you begin to see things differently. Suddenly, you start realizing all the ways you've been holding yourself back, and it's almost like waking up from a long, foggy sleep. You're just like, why did I tolerate that? Why did I let people treat me like I wasn't worth more? I spent so many years comparing myself to my siblings, wondering why they always got the best gifts while I got body wash. Why did they get the new gadgets and clothes, while I got stuck with the same old stuff? But here's the thing I realized, it wasn't about the gifts. It wasn't even about the material things. What I was really seeking was validation that I was worth it, that I deserved to be seen, to be heard. So, when I moved out, it wasn't just a change of address, it was a full-on shift in my perspective. I stopped looking to others for approval. I stopped waiting for someone to tell me I was enough. And you know what happened? I started discovering my own power. My own worth. Sure, there were moments when doubt would creep in, but instead of spiraling, I started embracing those moments. I started telling myself, it's okay to feel unsure, but I can do this. I am enough, just as I am. And that realization hit me like a wave of relief, like all the weight I had been carrying for so long was finally gone. And here's the most mind-blowing part, I started treating myself better. No more self-doubt, no more beating myself up. I started making choices that were in alignment with the person I wanted to be, not the person I thought I was supposed to be. I began to choose things that made me happy, that made me feel empowered, that made me feel alive. And that, my friends, is when things truly started to shift. So, yes, I moved out. But it wasn't just about having my own place. It was about finding myself again, in a way I hadn't even realized I'd lost. It was about taking control of my story, my narrative. I stopped being the background character in my own life, and I became the main character. And let me tell you, there is nothing more powerful than that. The biggest lesson I learned through all of this? You do not need to accept the scraps from anyone, not even your family, in order to feel worthy. You deserve more. You deserve the full experience. And trust me, once you realize that, once you truly understand your value, it changes everything. You stop putting yourself last. You start putting your needs, your desires, your happiness first. So, as I settled into my new place, surrounded by all the newness of my life, I realized that moving out wasn't just a physical act. It was my declaration to the world, and to myself, that I was ready to finally live life on my own terms. No more waiting. No more settling. I was done playing small. And wow, what a difference that made. This wasn't just a fresh start, it was a rebirth. And if you're stuck in a similar situation, wondering if you should make a change, I'm here to tell you, you are worthy of that change. It's never too late to step into the person you've always been meant to be. The world needs you at your full potential, and you deserve to show up for yourself in the most powerful way possible. So, take that leap. Step into your worth. Because trust me, it's all waiting for you on the other side. So, here we are, at the end of this journey, but honestly, it feels like it's just the beginning. I've shared my story with you today, not to seek sympathy, but to remind you that you're not alone. We all go through tough times, and sometimes, it feels like we're just not good enough, like we're stuck in a cycle of being overlooked or undervalued. But let me tell you, that does not define who you are. If you're sitting there, feeling like I was, wondering if you'll ever break free from the shadows, you can. You have the power to change your life. It's all about taking those first steps, even if they feel small. It's about telling yourself, I deserve more, and then doing everything in your power to make it happen. Remember, you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness. Don't wait for someone else to tell you that, believe it for yourself. It's time to stop comparing, stop settling for less, and start living for you. The world is waiting for you to show up, and trust me, there's so much beauty and greatness waiting on the other side of that leap. If my story resonated with you today, don't forget to like, share, and comment. I'd love to hear about your journey, your own realizations, and the moments you've taken control of your story. And remember, you are enough. Always. So keep going, keep rising, and never settle for less than you deserve. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep shining bright.